Yeah, we're the first food company, American food company, to go out there. Why? It's the spirit that drives us, right?
First time I went to Green Bean was when we touched down in Kuwait.
Just a little bit of time I can get away from all the sand and dirt.
Gives me a chance to take a little break.
You get a good cup of coffee, chance to listen to a little music.
This is a nice little break.
Just a chance to get away a little bit.
Love the support they give us, love their personal mission here.
Just able to take a little moment to reflect before you go back to work.
It does give me a little touch of home.
I was working with the royal family in Saudi Arabia in 1995, 96. In the summer, they come to the States and go to different cafes while they're here on holiday. And then when they go back home, they didn't have anything there. One of the nieces said, hey, I'd love to have a coffee shop in Riyadh. So she thought that if she opened the first gourmet coffee house in Riyadh, it would be a big hit. So we were looking at, what if we can take this to the next level and start, our own brand and just do something. So we said, well, what if we start bringing in coffee and package it over there and then sell it to the stores? So we started this Green Beans brand where we were bringing in coffee, packaging it in our houses, and then we ended up going out to a facility and packaging it over there, and then we were selling it to the local Safeways and supermarkets. After a while, we got approached by the military and they said, what if we open up one of these on our base? And we said, sure, we can do that. So we opened our first Green Beans cafe on that army post. It was very successful, and about 6 months after that, the Air Force came along and they said, we'd love to have you on our base, but we're another hour and a half further in the desert with nothing. We've got plenty of water and power to give you, but we really don't have a structure.
There was nothing. There was no food companies, there was no manufacturers, there was no raw materials.
You travel hour and a half into the desert, and all you see is the sand, rocks, and camels. And that's it, there's nothing else. So
we got together and said, well, how can you fix that problem? And that's where the idea came of taking these containers and manufacturing a unit. We can turn it into a cafe.
So we ended up finding a supplier that had these shipping containers. We actually designed what would be a 40-foot shipping container, transformed into a walk-in, full-service coffee shop. And inside was an old water pump. This was actually used by the Taliban.
Basically have a fully self-contained cafe, wired and everything. You just got to plug in the power and water, and you have a coffee house in the middle of the desert.
All of a sudden, in the middle of nowhere, you see Green Beans coffee.
The military was expecting something of maybe some sheet metal counters, something very informal. And we actually sat down and said, okay, if we want to really do something to make an impression, let's make a real Seattle-style prefabricated coffee house. And that's what we ended up doing.
Once the unit was built, it goes in the back of a truck and they can just take it anywhere.
None of this had ever been done before.
In every business, there's risk. Different levels of risk.
Many times we have our trucks kidnapped, taken from the Taliban with everything inside. We need that product.
In our case, it was not only a financial risk and a personal risk, but it was also the risk of you not coming back when you went. This is a picture of one of our units in Kuwait.
We are desperately waiting for that product and then it's gone. So logistically, it's really difficult to keep all of these cafes full with product.
This was just a few months after 9/11. We were going into a war zone, and we were going into areas that, were not safe, right? Transportation mode was on military planes, getting shot at.
There is no guarantee that your shipment will get there.
We had a container that we sent from here to Kandahar 4 months ago. It took 3 months to get there, and the last mile it got hijacked by the Taliban.
At the end of the day, it is so rewarding to know what you do, and especially when you see all of these people. These 2 weeks in Bagram changed my life completely.
As a company, we cannot just go where business is safe. If we've committed to support the troops, then we're going to commit to them wherever they go.
I was just kind of thinking about it, and I was thinking, G.I. Joe, and a Cup of Joe. Cup of Joe for a Joe is, in its simplest form, is simply a way for people here at home to tell our troops serving overseas, just a way for them to reach out, let them know that they're appreciated. We let someone come onto our website. They can purchase a cup of coffee for $2. When they do that, they can write a letter, any length they want, And then what happens is we match people that give a cup of coffee to one of these troops. So they get the letter there, and then we say, you know what, if you want to write back to Sean, let him know you got it, how you're doing. Here's your chance.
And they're so appreciative. Everybody's so happy. I mean, if you look at Facebook on our Cup of Joe, you would see so many soldiers are writing and just very, very thankful.
For them to hear from someone at home and just says, hey, you know what, you're not forgotten. We remember you, we appreciate you. That's a big deal for them.
To be able to give them that 15 minutes is huge. We give them 15 minutes of home, and the smile they get on their face when they come in there, and the guy that's been on patrol for 12 hours walks in and he's like, just give me my smoothie or give me a coffee, let me sit down and relax.
I walk in the front door, I look at the counter, and I'm not in the desert anymore.
That's priceless to a soldier, and it became priceless to us when we start seeing that. There's no way to see what's happening than to see it yourself.
And this is the location where Jason came in the middle of the night. You know, for Christmas, I was in Afghanistan, and everyone was just completely blown away. They're like, we should be home with your family. And I said, well, this is my family.
The working people are not used to seeing their bosses working. We were working with these guys. Like I said, we get up with them, we start making coffee. Fast forward to the Iraq War, when we got the phone call to, we need you guys to open up in Iraq, and we need you to open 6 stores at one time.
That was exciting. It was 2 weeks of traveling on Blackhawks, sleeping on the ground, sleeping in containers, carrying your own Kevlar, your helmet, your 2 backpacks.
That was the peak of when they were kidnapping all these foreigners and contractors. When I got the phone call, I thought it was a crank call. I thought it was a joke. You know, as a business person, you strive to develop a product or a brand where people can say, that's what I want. And for someone to come to you and say, I want your product on my base, and then you say, well, you know, it's a little too dangerous out there. I mean, I decided we have to do this. We cannot not go there. When they come to you and they say, we want to have green beans.
And you're flying, sometimes you get shot at, or sometimes you're sleeping on the base and there's incoming mortar rounds, you know. But you get your courage and you get your strength from all of those that are there with you. It's real.
You don't know if that next round that's going to hit, where it's going to hit.
Yeah.
Or that plane that you're on, you know, if it gets shot. Yeah. That's a risk we were willing to take.